first off, Happy New Year. Obviously, we're already in the big year of 2025. I'm a little bit late to my first video, but it's alright. Everything takes time. So, today I just wanted to kind of discuss Mario and Luigi Brothership. As you can tell from the title, I wanted to kind of fuse this, which I haven't done the drawings yet, but I will be drawing some of my favorite characters in the background. Most notably, Connie and Kaza, who I think it's Connie and Kaza, however you pronounce that. I just think they're adorable. I like the student mentor relationship they have. It's cute. And then also Reclusa, who we will get into because I have a lot of positives and negatives to say about Reclusa, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, let's just talk about the pros, right? First thing I love about Mario Luigi Brothership is the amazing visuals. The game looks incredible. They translated to a newer era of the Mario and Luigi series in a really good way in terms of the animation style. Everything is vibrant, everything's bright, everything's unique. Even the animations are just so much more like fun. They're just a lot more goofy, right? Down to the bros attacks, which those are pretty good. But those we'll touch on I'll touch on them again in a little bit. But yeah, overall, I love the visuals. I also love the theming of the game, just like the visual theme. It's very much oriented around electricity and plugs. So a lot of characters are basically puns on things like extension, right? That's like a whole team X10 and Sean extension. There's like one of those main things. There's like occupations like Watson, what's it called, Watsonist, right? Obviously like watts, electricity watts. You collect plugs, or sorry, you collect like bulbs of energy, so you can craft material, right? Basically, the whole game is mostly themed around like plugs and electricity and that type of thing. That to me is a very unique theming, and I was a little hesitant when I saw it in the trailers. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why. I just thought that the theming was a little like random, but it works so beautifully with how the story is written. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the battle system as well. I enjoyed the battle system. Now, I will be honest, I have not played a Mario and Luigi game since I used to emulate the original Superstar Saga on my old computer like 10 years ago at this point. So I have very little experience with, Super Mario, or sorry, Mario and Luigi titles. I've watched a lot of Mario and Luigi titles, but I haven't played them. The combat system, I will admit, I thought it was pretty good. It took a little bit to get used to, you press A when Mario attacks primarily, but when it's Luigi, it's primarily B, especially for like jump and hammer. It took a little bit for me to kind of get the hang of that, because it's weird, because, you hit confirm with A with both bros, but when it's Luigi, you have to remember to switch to B after you hit confirm, otherwise you just end up just flopping and you just do like no damage. So, but that's not really like the game's fault. I think that honestly that might just low-key be a skill issue. It did take like the first half hour, 45 minutes of my gameplay, I was kind of fumbling a lot, which I will say, by the way, it took about 45-ish hours to beat the game. If it says 50, but like that's including like times where I just paused to go and like use the bathroom or help someone around the house, and I just left the game running. So, if you take away all that, it would have taken me about 45 hours to beat the game, which most people that I watch say it took them about 40 something hours, which is pretty good. And I guess like another pro I wanted to talk about was the ending. The ending, it kind of tries to make up for one of the major cons that I felt like this game had, but we'll get into we'll get there in a minute. The ending of the game, like the actual like ending post final battle, was beautiful. To me, I think the game has a very it's a Mario game, right? It's a Nintendo game, so it has a good message behind it, which is basically to cherish the bonds you have with those around you, whether that be friends, family, your co-workers, maybe your teachers. You know what I mean? Like, just cherish these type of bonds that you have, because they really do boost your, maybe not boost in the same way that Mario and Luigi get boosted, but it's just better to go through life with supportive people around you than to try and be a recluse, which is a huge pun for the name of the final boss. But yeah, now let's get into the cons. I guess the first two I would say are like more minor, but the final con that I have is gonna take up a decent chunk of the video. I'm not gonna lie, because this annoyed me a lot personally. The more I played through it, so some of the cons, which I wrote specific these two characters called Chilium and Bernadette, like burn as in heartburn, Bernadette. I thought their arc was surprisingly long, which the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there were a lot of like bonds and arcs that took a little too long for my liking. Like Chilium and Bernadette were just one, but like I get that they had a very good bond, but I feel like there was just so much back and forth and so much going from island to island. Even if there's fast travel, it's like, because with these two, it's like, it's not just you find it. Now, the whole point of Chilium and Bernadette is that they're, Chilium from the ice region and Bernadette from the fire region fall in love. If you've seen any form of movie that has some form of race allegory where two sides hate each other and then because of love they both sides come together or whatever, you know exactly how this is going. And it goes exactly how it has for years and years. But still, it's a trope that I personally don't mind. So it's not really the trope that's a problem. It's more so just like, it's not just we meet this couple and we save some of the, some of the tensions that are faced on that island, right? No, instead you have to go you find them you basically find them on vacation, you save them from being falsely accused and put in jail, then you travel back to the, I guess, home region where they met each other, I think, and then you travel to the ice region. Like there's an island where there's both fire and ice people, but they live on separate halves. So when you get to that region, you then travel to a different island that's all ice. Then you travel to a different island that's all fire, and you go back to ship shape and yada yada. Basically, there's a lot of just running around in circles, and then at the end, it all comes together because you have this big, beautiful wedding that they have, which is like, why did we need this? You know what I mean? The wedding was cute, but like, did we really need like this much back and forth for there to be a wedding between these two characters that, knowing Nintendo, probably won't really appear at all outside of the Mario Luigi series? Do we need that much screen time with them? I guess in my mind, maybe because they have so much screen time, they're probably going to become like major hitters in like future Mario Luigi titles or just future titles in general. But that's neither here nor there. I think that's mostly what I wanted to speak on in terms of that arc. It wasn't terrible. Don't get it wrong. I'm not saying it was terrible, but it was a little slow pace for my liking. I kind of wasn't a big fan after a while. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is that now, for anyone that's been on this channel long enough, or if you just look at any of my videos, especially my trailer video, I am actually currently in college where I make video games, and my primary thing while making video games is composing the music for said games. So basically, all of that basically say, I love music. So one of the biggest things that I couldn't really get over when it came to this game is that I wish that, especially for the boss music, there could have been more variety. Aside from the final antagonists, the boss music is the same for each and every boss that you fight, which wouldn't be an issue for the first couple, but that also includes Bowser, which, it's Bowser. Even though he's not the primary target in this world, the fact that Bowser, Mario's longtime rival, doesn't get his own theme in any way, shape, or form either time that you fight him is crazy work, to me at least. X10 and Sean, yes, I said that right. X10 and Sean, all three of them use the same battle theme, even though they're pretty important, especially towards what I like to call the secondary antagonist, who is Zakir. Basically, all four of these characters run through the same battle theme that Bowser does, who runs through the same same boss theme that every other boss in the game has. Why? X10 and Sean are actually pretty good units, right? You literally fight 10. If I remember correctly, you fight 10 himself. But I thought the three of them were a really good trio, so like, why would each of them not get their own theme? Even if the three of them just got 3 variations of their own theme, I wouldn't mind that. But like, again, they feel like pretty important characters. Why do they not have themes? I mean, hell, prior to the actual final antagonist, Zakir is what you see as a final antagonist. So why does Zakir not get his own battle theme? To me, personally, that's a little bit lazy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, come on. Even now, you could be nice enough and say, oh, Mario and Luigi hasn't had a main series game in, 7-8 years or whatever? 8-9, something like that. And okay, maybe they're getting their groove back. I can't let it slide. This is Nintendo, right? You could have made more music. That's just how I feel about that. Yeah, I mean, again, it didn't take away from the overall soundtrack of the game, which was beautiful. I'm not gonna lie, especially not just the end credits, but like the final, like everyone's on the island and you say goodbye. The music that plays during that portion, to me, I thought it was beautiful. And then the final con, and this is one that I want to speak about in great length because this annoyed me to no extent. So, the actual final antagonist of Mario Luigi Brothership is this character called Reclusa, which is a clear, which is a clear play on a recluse. Reclusa's whole thing is that he wants everyone to live in complete and utter solitude. He wants everyone to lose all connections and just live in solitude. One thing I want to say is I like his theming in terms of like what he's for. Like his whole thing is supposed to be is supposed to play on being a recluse. So naturally his whole thing is he hates bonds between people. He would rather everyone just shun themselves, just become shut-ins and just live in their own blissful paradise where they never have to deal with reality. Now, I want to say one thing for sure. I love his design. That's why you're probably looking at the screen right now and you can see me drawing it. Maybe not to the best of my ability, but I'm telling you, look at these various screenshots and photos that I have of his character design. I love his design. He kind of reminds me, I don't know what it is, it might just be his the cape or whatever. He sort of reminds me of the Collector from the Owl House. If anyone's watched that show, which I'm not gonna lie, if you're watching this channel, you probably have watched the Owl House. I feel like I feel like I kind of attract that kind of audience. You've probably at least heard of the Owl House or have seen it. To my main point, he is an amazing antagonist. Once you beat Zocket, the last portion of the game is basically built up to explaining Recluse's purpose and prepares you to fight him, right? For the actual final battle, right? Zocket was the supposed final boss. Recluse is the real final boss. His arc dragged on for way too long because when you are introduced to him, he basically just sends you back to Shipshape, and then you have to go through this long and drawn out process where you have to run around and connect all types of people through various bonds. For some bonds, you have to straight up fight entire groups of enemies or even bosses for a second time just to be able to make them bond with whomever, right? And to me, it's like all that running around took a surprisingly long time because you're just running from island to island to island to island. Because it's not just, oh, you find these people already bonded and you just interact with them and there's a bit of dialogue. No, sometimes you have to go from this island to another because one character wants to do this, or the two characters are on completely different parts of the world or whatever. So you have to bring them to one another. Collecting all of those bonds legit took I think an hour and a half. That took, maybe you could argue I'm trash. I don't give a shit. That took way too long to have to do, when again that was something that was just not discussed at all until Kozak came out. Connie is a major support character, Kozak serves kind of as her mentor, right? And then you find out, oh, Zocket is actually Kozak. Kozak basically just gives you a bunch of spiel about bonds and all types of things you could do, and it's that's cool, but again, there's no reason why it takes so long to do this part. Then, if I'm not wrong, the next part is when you go through the solid tree, right? That Reclusa ends up forming, right? This massive, sprawling tree, right? I will admit, I like the dungeon portion. It's basically like a final send-off to all of the various tricks and gimmicks that take you through all different parts of the world, right? In terms of the universe in the game, so there's all types of little things that you can do in that space. So in that regard, I think it's pretty good. Personally, I like the final dungeon. It's not like before where it's purely just you fight enemies, go to the next floor, fight enemies, go to the next floor. There are a lot of surprisingly intricate puzzles that you have to solve. So Reclusa as a whole is just weirdly just drawn out. I'm saying one more time because this is why I'm more so pissed at it. Reclusa's design is so good. He looks so cool. I like his design a lot. He has a screen, he has a TV for a face. That's how you know the character's peak. It comes to his battle. And this junk is weak. To me, here's my thing. For one, he had way too many phases, for one. And two, even each of these phases, they're weak as hell. Some of them were just drawn out, like the second phase, right? Reclusa ends up merging with the Soul Tree, you know, the one that I was talking about, and becomes Weeping Reclusa, right? I think that's pretty cool. But you have to go through this little fucking mini game where you have to collect your buddy Snoutlet. I know, by the way, I'm not explaining the story well, but like, if you're watching this video, I'm not gonna lie, it's either because A, you don't really care to buy this game, or B, you've already played it and you want to hear my thoughts on it. I'm just gonna keep it a stack. Just say that, like, I hated that portion. It wasn't even difficult, but it's just so drawn out. Because it's very clear, in my opinion, that they just clearly didn't build Reclusa to have any form of like notable HP, which makes no sense. You could have easily just made this character so much more tough in terms of defeating. You could have just like made him a little bit like stronger instead of giving him 4 different phases, right? Which again, I think that some of them are cool. Phase 1, you have to fly in and stun. You have to fly in and basically knock him to the ground and then you fight him. That's a cool entrance, right? It's the final boss. You might as well pull out all the stops. So from Weeping Reclusa, you once you get your buddy Snoutlet, you can use Luigi logic and you run. You basically fly up the tree, right? Which seems difficult, but I literally watched someone I watched. He literally just mashed the fucking fire and ice attacks at the same time and just scrolled left and right when he needed to. That shit was easy. He did it in seconds, which I feel like, looking back, I feel kind of dumb for not doing myself, but you know, that's it. So then when you make it inside of the mouth of the tree, you find the Weeping Core, right? Now that, to me, it's a pretty simple design. The whole thing is that, you know, the Weeping Core is quite literally just a shell, right? You break open the shell and you basically fight Reclusa again. But now the difference is that once he's below half health, he becomes angry, and now he has not only new attacks, but he starts attacking faster on top. These are cool, but you could have easily this could have all been done a little bit better. Even the 4 phases. Why would I fight Reclusa in his same form twice? He's basically the same. And even during that phase 1, I killed him in 1 turn. Most people I watched basically killed him before he even got to attack. Both times both in the first and final phase. That's kind of garbage. You can kill him so easily, and it's why? Personally, what I think they should have done is just you fight Reclusa, right? First off, I'm even looking on the wiki as we talk right now, because I'm looking at his stats. I knew he has no HP. This dude has 5k HP. At this point in the game, you're probably around level 45. That's where Reclusa's at, so the game expects you to be about level 45 at this point, right? If you time your bros attacks, get excellence, and you have the right plugs equipped, you're doing about, I'd say a good 2k per attack. If you're doing it right, you're hitting about 2k every time you hit him. You can kill him within the first wave of Mario and Luigi attacks, or Mario and Luigi bro attacks. Who designed that? No, first off, that form, give it more HP. Weeping Reclusa, having to look for Snoutlet makes no sense. Just make the whole flying up the tree part cooler and make it longer. Because the Weeping Reclusa does have attacks. Just make Weeping Reclusa attack while you're flying up. Why would you make it so that way we have to go through some type of goofy minigame, which isn't even that difficult, and just climb up? Again, it's the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I think this is a really cool final battle. It's something unique. We're not just fighting some alternate form of Bowser. This is someone that's beyond the scaling of Bowser. This is a different beast. And then once you make it inside of Weeping Reclusa, right? I don't mind the Weeping Core, right? I think the Weeping Core could have just had maybe a little bit more HP, but I don't really mind that it's weak because again, it's a shell. It's not an actual quote unquote boss. Once you break the core and you run into Reclusa again, I think, in my opinion, I think 2 things should happen. A, he should have more HP. Now granted, Remember how I said the first time you fight Reclusa you have 5k? Well, the second time it's double, now it's 10k, which still isn't that much for a final boss. For a final boss, Reclusa should have like 20k at this point. Maybe that might be overkill, but yeah, I'd say around like 15, 20k. No, not even, because like I said, if you time your stuff well, you're doing about 2k in it per bros move. He can have 20,000 HP when you account for turns that, you know, maybe you have to heal or you run out of BP, right? And you have to, and instead of making him start out as calm and then become angry, why not just make him angry the whole time? Actually, that might be better. I changed my mind. Change it up to 15k health and just make him angry the whole time, because halfway through he becomes angry and he's harder to beat. Why would he not be angry at this point? Why does it take me beating him in his base form twice? No, me beating him in his base form, then his gigantic form, and then breaking his charging core or whatever for him to actually become mad. He literally becomes mad beforehand, which actually I almost completely forgot to mention. I've completely forgot to mention. There's a portion where Mario and Luigi actually get sucked up by these, like, you know, these VR headset flower thingies that he puts up on everyone, and you basically end up in like this really messed up virtual mushroom kingdom where it feels like it's just like the same loop over and over again, but every time you keep going through the loop, more and more things kind of start to break apart, like especially with like the weird tilted camera angles. Like some of the dialogue becomes repetitive, you start to see weird glitchy effects on characters, the camera starts flipping around during certain portions, and it's like, ugh. To me, that was well done. But again, even that portion took way too long, right? After the first time, you realize Reclusa is just in that virtual world that Mario and Luigi are in, just kind of like stalking you. You have to basically look for Reclusa in each of your little dreamscapes, and like, I think, like, what do you do again? I think you just hit him, and then he disappears, and you do it again, and again, and again. I think you do it like 3 or 4 times or something like that. And I'm like, again, why are these things drawn out? You don't need to make these things so long. Cut them down. You have a character with a good design. You have a character with good motive for an antagonist, right? He's not just some lost character who never had good bonds as a child, so we have to feel bad for him. He's just evil to be evil. You know what I mean? Why not like reward the players by making the final battle against this evil villain difficult? Last thing I'll say is that I know at the very end, Mario and Luigi basically just beat the mess out of him as you all fall down to the ground. So, I mean, I thought it was cool. It was not insane, like nothing we've never seen them do before, but you know, it was satisfying seeing the numbers kind of like slowly rack up the more that you get the brothers to attack it. But point be told, basically, that's why I'm so passionate. But as you can see, I'm very passionate about this final arc and this boss because I think it's a really good character that was drawn out for so long. But yeah, all in all, despite my rant about the finale, I still think it's a really good game. I told my friend if I had to rate it out of 10, off the top of my head, I would give Mario Luigi Brothership, I'd give it an 8.1, 8.2 out of 10. I do still think it is a very good game, and the game is beautiful. I love the theming and the story. The only major drawback that I said I have is basically just the final arc, which at that point you're already pretty invested in the story, so at that point you'll be able to truck through it. It's not like it gets boring, it's just that things kind of start to drag on. Like if you see any of my gameplay footage that I'll probably put on screen right now, you're gonna see that little fast forward B button because there is just so much like fodder, and it's like, but anyways, I think that's my rant done. All in all, I love the game, and once again, happy new year. I have a lot of big plans, big ideas to bring to the channel, both new ideas and some older ideas. So as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down your thoughts below on whether, you know, on either what I was discussing with Brothership or just any of the drawings that you see on screen. Again, I'm not a great artist, but I've been trying to keep up these past couple months. I'll actually, for the best of viewers who want to stick around till the end, I'll leave a couple of pictures of some of my drawings that I've done later on based on an OC character of mine who I want to put in a future video game that I just haven't been able to work on yet, but that's neither here nor there. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, tell a friend, drink water, make sure you hit the notification bell after you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.